Autumn had brought a biting chill, filling the small town's air with sharp, restless winds. The sky was already darkening, and dry leaves spiraled along the sidewalk, echoing the hurried steps of Rowan. He shouldn't have stayed out this late. The library work had taken more time than he expected. And now, the streets were almost empty. Only a line of dim streetlights kept him company on the walk to the bus stop. But when he arrived, his hope faded. The last bus had left, just minutes ago. Rowan tapped his phone, hoping for a message from his mom, or maybe any option to get home. Nothing. Just him, an empty bus stop, and the howl of the wind. Minutes passed in silence. Then, a distant engine. He turned his head. From behind a thin veil of fog that hung over the street, a bus slowly emerged, rolling toward him. Its headlights cut through the quiet road, casting a pale glow on the rusted bus stop sign. Rowan frowned. That wasn't the usual bus. Its yellow paint was faded, peeling in spots to reveal rusted metal underneath. The windows were fogged over, impossible to see inside. The light above the windshield was still on, and the sign read, "School Bus." But the letters were barely visible, worn down with time. The brakes hissed softly as the bus came to a stop right in front of him. The front door creaked open with a long, strained groan, like it hadn't been used in years. Behind the wheel sat a silent driver. His old cap cast a shadow over most of his face, revealing only a stiff, unmoving jawline. His jacket was worn out, the fabric torn in several places. Rowan gripped the strap of his bag tightly. Something about this didn't feel right. Something told him not to get on. But what choice did he have? He didn't want to walk all that way in the cold night. No other cars passed by. No one else was around. With hesitation, he stepped onto the bus. The air inside was colder than outside. The dim aisle lights flickered weakly, casting an eerie glow on the rows of tattered seats. The scent of dust and something else, something faintly acrid, lingered in the air. Rowan walked further in, looking for a place to sit. But as he passed a few seats, he felt something. A strange sensation, like he was being watched. He turned. The aisle was empty. Only him and the driver, still sitting motionless at the front. With a hint of unease, Rowan took a seat in the middle row, trying to ignore the strange feeling slowly creeping over him. The bus gave a gentle shudder, then slowly began to move again, leaving behind the empty bus stop. And without Rowan realizing it, at that very moment, something had changed. The air inside the bus felt colder than it should have been. Rowan pulled his jacket zipper higher, trying to block out the chill that crept along his skin. His eyes scanned the narrow aisle between the neatly lined seats. This bus was too quiet. No murmurs of conversation, no shuffling backpacks, not even a single cough or heavy breath, just silence. And yet, he wasn't alone. At the very back, a few students sat perfectly still, their backs straight, facing forward. They wore school uniforms, but not the ones Rowan recognized. The colors, the style, they were different. Something about them felt wrong. They didn't move. No shift in position. No hands reaching for a phone. No heads turning toward the windows. They just sat there, stiff, as if they were waiting for something. Rowan bit his lip, trying to ignore the unease that had begun to crawl through his chest. He turned to look out the window, desperate to distract himself. But the view outside made things worse. There were no houses, no little shops, no rows of streetlights lining the sidewalk. Only fog, thick and churning, rolling across the landscape like smoke. The bus's dim headlights tried to pierce through it, but all they revealed was a formless, empty space. Rowan frowned. This wasn't the usual route the school bus took. His chest tightened. It felt like something was wrong with the air in here. Too heavy, too silent. He swallowed hard, then slowly turned to look toward the back. His eyes locked onto one of the students sitting in the very last row. The boy didn't move, didn't blink. Rowan took a breath, then finally worked up the courage to ask, "Hey, where's this bus going?" His voice sounded strange, even to himself. Too small, or maybe too loud, echoing through the narrow space. There was no answer, but after a few long seconds, the boy began to turn. Slowly, too slowly, like an old doll whose head was being twisted against its will. Rowan held his breath. Now the boy's face was fully turned toward him. His skin, pale, almost gray. His eyes, too dark, empty, like they held no life at all. But what made Rowan want to look away the most was the smile. Too wide. His lips curled in an unnatural way, stretching until they nearly touched his cheeks. Then, in a voice that barely whispered, the boy spoke. "We're already home." Rowan felt a wave of heat crawl up his spine. His hands gripped the edge of the seat, trying to steady his racing heart. He turned his gaze as quickly as he could, looking straight ahead, hoping to erase whatever it was he'd just seen. But something deep inside him knew. He was trapped on this bus. The air inside the bus grew colder. Rowan sat still, his back stiff, fingers gripping the fabric of his pants. Something was wrong. That feeling grew stronger, like something was watching, lurking in the shadows, hidden in the corners of the bus. Then he felt it. A touch. Cold, light, but enough to send a shiver down his spine. Someone or something had just brushed against his shoulder. With a sharp-held breath, Rowan turned quickly. There was no one there, but his eyes immediately locked onto the seat beside him, the one that should have been empty. Now. The fabric sagged slightly, as if someone had just sat there. His heart began to race. His hand slowly rose, about to reach for the seat beside him. But before he could touch it, "Time's up." The deep voice echoed through the bus. Rowan jumped, his gaze snapping forward. For the first time, the bus driver spoke. His voice was low and hoarse, like someone who hadn't used their voice in years. Yet the bus didn't stop. The road outside continued to pass by, though the fog began to thin. Rowan turned to look out, and his heart nearly stopped. Out there, he saw his own house. The little house at the end of the street, the porch light dimly glowing. The window of his bedroom slightly ajar, the white curtains gently swaying in the breeze. But the bus kept moving. Rowan shot up, his hand raised, and he slammed it against the window. The sound should have been sharp, but there was nothing, like hitting stone. His chest heaved with panic. He hit the window again, harder, but it didn't budge. Then he saw something, his own reflection in the window. But something was wrong. That reflection was smiling at him. He knew he wasn't smiling. Slowly, The corners of his reflection's lips curved higher, widening into a grin. Too wide, too unnatural. Rowan took a step back, his breath coming in short gasps. And that's when he heard it. A whisper. "Why do you want to leave? Your home is here with us. Don't leave us, Rowan." The whispers filled the air, coming from all directions, and with each passing second, more joined in. Rowan turned around. The students who had been motionless began to move, but not naturally. They moved stiffly, like puppets brought to life by force, their necks twisted, their hands jerking in unnatural spasms, and their eyes were slowly turning black, pitch black, as if their eyeballs had vanished, leaving nothing but empty darkness. A void. Rowan felt his body freeze. He had to get out of here. Now. Panic surged through every inch of Rowan's body. His blood turned cold. His thoughts spun out of control. But his instincts screamed only one thing. Run. Without a second thought, he surged forward, his hands gripping the driver's shoulder, shaking him violently. The driver's body felt wrong. Like shaking something that wasn't fully solid. And when the figure finally turned its head, Rowan's breath caught in his throat. The face, it was wrong. There were no eyes, no nose, just a mouth. A mouth that stretched too wide, grinning from one side of the face to the other. Its teeth were black, sharp, and jagged, arranged like a row of needles, ready to devour anything that came too close. A low, whispering voice seeped from that mouth, like a gust of wind in a dark corridor. "Your place has been prepared." Rowan's heart hammered in his chest. The bus slowed down. The front door creaked open, its hinges groaning like a faint scream in the dead of night. Rowan expected to see the road, grass, maybe even the houses along the street. But no. Outside, there was nothing but darkness. But this wasn't ordinary darkness. It was thicker, deeper, alive. It pulsed like a living thing, hungry, endless. As if the world outside the bus had vanished, swallowed whole by a void that wanted more. And from that void, something began to emerge. Shadowy hands trembling like ripples on black water reached out from the abyss. Their fingers were long, thin, spidery, creeping forward like predators sensing movement. Rowan took a step back, then another, but the bus kept moving, steadily, unstoppably, toward the darkness. He could feel it now. A strange pull, like gravity, but colder, stronger. It wanted him. It was calling him forward. He had to act. Now his eyes darted around the bus, searching for anything, any escape. The other passengers were still seated, still as statues, but their heads, they were turning, one by one, creaking slowly, as if their necks were on rusted hinges. Their eyes remained black voids, empty and endless, but now their mouths were moving, whispering something, so soft, so low. It sounded like a chant or a warning, or maybe a welcome. Rowan didn't care what they were whispering. He had to get out. Now his eyes darted to the right, and then he saw it. The emergency brake. His last hope. Without hesitation, he lunged for it, fingers trembling as they wrapped around the cold metal. He yanked it with everything he had. The sound ripped through the air, sharp, wrong, unnatural, like the tearing of something sacred, something that should never be touched. Then the screaming began. Not one scream, hundreds, thousands, children, men, women. Voices old and cracked, and others young and raw, all shrieking at once. The air vibrated with their agony, piercing through Rowan's ears like broken glass. The bus trembled violently, the lights flickered, no longer soft yellow but deep, violent red. The driver let out an inhuman screech, his jaw unhinged, mouth splitting wider, until it seemed to tear across his face. Rowan dropped to the floor, hands clamped over his ears, body curled tight. And then, silence. The bus jolted to a stop. Everything went still. No engine, no whispers, no screams. Just a silence that rang louder than any sound. Rowan opened his eyes, gasping for breath. He turned toward the window and froze. The world outside was no longer the world he knew. The night air pierced Rowan's skin the moment he came to. His feet stood on the damp sidewalk, right in front of his own house. The street around him was empty. Flickering streetlights cast long, broken shadows across the cracked asphalt. His chest rose and fell rapidly. He was still trembling, still breathing hard. His head spun, trying to make sense of what had just happened. He had been on the bus. He pulled the emergency brake. There were screams everywhere. Then, everything stopped. And now, the bus was gone, as if the entire ride had been nothing more than a nightmare. Too vivid to be fake, but the cold biting into his skin, the sweat clinging to his face, told him otherwise. Rowan swallowed hard, then slowly lifted his head. There it was, his house, his own house. The living room window, just as he remembered, the porch light, glowing faint yellow, autumn wind sweeping dry leaves across the small yard. His hand trembled as he reached for the doorknob. He had to go inside. He had to tell his mother what had happened. The door creaked softly as he opened it, and the warm air of home greeted him. But before he could even breathe in relief, a voice stopped him, his mother's voice. A stifled scream, tight with shock. Her eyes were wide, face pale as if every drop of blood had vanished in an instant. Her hand rose to cover her mouth, and her voice came out shaky, barely more than a whisper.
Rowan, isn't it true that you died 10 years ago?
Time itself seemed to freeze for Rowan. His heart, it felt like it stopped. Blood flowing slower than ever before. What did his mother just say? 10 years? The thought didn't make sense. He had just gotten off the bus. He had just come home from school. There was no way 10 years had passed. But the look on his mother's face, it was too real to be a joke. No, something was wrong. He needed to see for himself. With heavy steps, Rowan turned around. His body felt sluggish, as if weighed down, as he approached the large mirror in the living room. His hand trembled as he lifted his gaze, and that's when he saw it. His own reflection. But something was off. His reflection was staring back at him. He was trembling in fear, still confused, still gasping for air, but the reflection in the mirror, it smiled. A smile too wide, a smile too wrong, as if the reflection knew something he didn't. Then in the distance, the sound returned. The rumble of the bus wheels rolling on the wet road, the creak of the door opening, and that whisper again.
We're not done yet, Rowan. Come back inside.